All right, home buyers, today we're going to talk about how to get that house for the lowest price possible.
You better get fired up.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys joining me on this beautiful Friday. Today, what I'm going to talk about is something that most buyers are pretty genuinely interested in from day one, right? And that's how do I negotiate the best price? I'll tell you, a lot of buyers come in and they think I'm just going to come in 30 grand low. That's the way to do it. And it's really not. A lot of times what you're going to do is you're going to insult people. You're going to turn them off. They're not going to want to negotiate with you at all. And you'll see it because instead of, meeting you halfway, which is what a lot of people either think will happen or sometimes does happen, people will just say, no, thank you. They'll just decline your offer altogether, right? The idea is to get a reasonable enough offer that you get the back and forth going and you're able to take a bite out of that price and get it down a little bit more, right? So what I'm going to give you today are 10 different recommendations that I've jotted down here that I have seen work in the past. All of these things individually maybe help you this much, but when you add them all up, you're giving yourself so much of a benefit, of an advantage in these different areas that it adds up, right? So here are the different recommendations that I would give you as a buyer or buyer agents to improve that price that you're purchasing the property for, right? Number one, research the sold comps, okay? I see a lot of sellers, literally 100% of sellers, when they're going to list their house, they expect that realtor to do some pretty diligent research, telling them what their home is worth. And it makes complete sense. Why wouldn't you do that, right? But buyers, for some reason, don't do that. They just think, hey, the home's asking 450, let's come in at 440. Here's my question. What if the home's worth 430 and you just paid 440 thinking you get a $10,000 deal, but you didn't? You still overpaid by 10 grand, right? What if the home is worth 460 and you're playing Mickey Mouse games coming in at 440 and now there's multiple offers and you lose the home of your dreams because you're not looking at what the home is truly worth, right? So get in there and research the comps. It takes any professional realtor 10, 20, 30 minutes to do a really good job of nailing down what that property is worth. They should be able to explain it to you and make you feel educated before you bring that price. But I always say, man, let's talk about what market value is and forget about their price. They could be spot on. They could be a little low. They could be 50 grand high. Let's see what that property is worth before we start talking price. Number two, ask why the sellers are moving, right? You should be able to ask your agent to ask the other agent why the sellers are moving. Now, you might get an honest answer. You might not get an honest answer. They might be hiding things that would hurt them. I'll tell you, if I am a listing agent, I'm certainly going to protect my selling clients if there's something vulnerable about the reason why they're moving and it could impact the motivation of the buyer on the other end. I'm going to keep that secret, right? Because I don't want, for example, let's say there's a divorce and it's an ugly divorce. If I tell a buyer that, what's the first thing they're going to think? Oh, these people want to get out of here. We can come in 30 grand low and get this house. I'm not going to share that, right? But that doesn't mean every other listing agent won't share it. Now, with that information, realize as a buyer, that doesn't mean you know what's going on. I've had plenty of ugly divorces where one person wants to sell and the other one's like, I'm not leaving. I better get 10 grand over this asking price or I'm not doing it, right? So you never know what's really going on, even if you do know the why. But sometimes the why will help you. Sometimes you can use it to your advantage, right? There are a lot of different things that you can do. So if you know the reason why, sometimes you can change the closing date to fix that why. Sometimes you can include or not include certain personal property that they may want or want to get rid of. A lot of different things that you can do to kind of feed into their why that really doesn't put you at a negative, depending upon the situation. So really dig into the why. Number three, if there are multiple offers, consider an escalation clause. Why? Well, let's talk about what it is first. An escalation clause is, let's take that 450 home. And let's say you're thinking, oh my gosh, I would pay 480 for that house. But I don't just want to give up 30 grand. What if there's no other offers? Or what if the best offer is 455? I could have won at 460. I don't want to pay 480. What an escalation clause does is it says, hey, I will pay X, let's say it's 480 as a cap, but I will be 5 grand and you get to pick what that 5 is. Maybe it's 2, maybe it's 10, maybe it's 5, whatever it is, over the next best offer, but you have to show me that offer. So now if there's a 455 offer, you're at 460, you get the home. It's under your cap, you're good to go, right? If the offer is, or let's say the next best offer is 478, you'd be $5,000 over, which is 483, but you're capped at 480. So you're going to be at 480, which puts you at $2,000 over. Okay. There's a good chance you'll still win it depending upon terms and everything else. But if that offer comes in at 490, well, you're capped at 480. So you would be $10,000 low in price, protecting you, right? But in those situations where the next best offer is 450, 455, 460, whatever, you're still going to be in the best position price wise, but you're not going to risk losing all that money, right? So a lot of agents don't like escalation clauses for a myriad of reasons. In my opinion, I think that a lot of them just aren't educated and they aren't confident with them. If you are educated on them, you know how they can benefit your clients. I think they're very helpful, right? There's reasons to use them, reasons not to use them, but that's definitely a conversation I would have if I loved a home and I had no problem coming in high, right? That'll mitigate the number of dollars coming out of your pocket. Number 4, the less red flags, the lower your price can be. What do I mean by that? If you're going to be contingent on the sale of your current home and you want a 10-day inspection, and you only want to put $1,000 down in escrow and none of it's guaranteed, and you want a 60-day closing, and I want to keep all your furniture, and I want to come in $30,000 low, that's a lot of emotional beating, man. You're beating the crap out of these sellers. And I'm telling you, these transactions tend to be a lot more emotional than they are logical. The agents try to keep it, professional agents try to keep it as logical as possible and take the emotion out. But you've got an emotional buyer and an emotional seller. And I'll tell you, people who are usually very logical, very straight-laced, in a high anxiety situation like buying or selling a home, the anxiety goes up immensely for a lot of these people, and you start to see the emotions come out, right? So we're trying to limit, as buyers, the seller's emotions, the stress, by making everything else in the offer as beautiful as possible so we can work on that price, right? Now, if we do that, I always look at it as kind of like a pulley system, right? Imagine there's a pulley up here and you've got a little string or a rope going up and over it. If you pull on one end, the other end has to go up, right? You can't just pull on both ends. That's not how a pulley works. So if you want a sale contingency and a 10-day inspection and only 1,000 in escrow and blah, 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 and blah, 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 and I want your furniture and everything else, the price better be high, right? Otherwise, you're really beating on them. However, if you're asking for nothing in terms and you're giving them everything they want, now your price can be low. Does it mean they'll accept a low price if all the terms they want are accepted? No, absolutely not. But it increases the chances. Here's another thing. When they counter on your price, you can beat on them a little bit with the terms and say, okay, if we do meet you, let's go back to 450. You came in at 430. They countered at 440. You can say, hey, listen, my folks would come to 440, but we're going to need some furniture. We're going to need a different closing date, or we're going to need whatever. We gave you these things trying to fulfill all of your hopes as a seller because we wanted price. If you're not going to give us the price we want, we need some terms. Now, even if you don't want the terms, what it does is it makes them decide, are we truly committed to getting that extra cash out of it? Or will we give up some of the terms, right? And it doesn't matter. They get to pick. It's up to them. But now you've put a little bit of pressure on them to decide. They might come back and say, all right, listen, we don't want to give up terms. So we're not going to come down to 430, but we will do 435. Boom, you just got $5,000, right? You got another $5,000 plus the 10 you already got. You got $15,000 out of that. Okay. And if they say no, we're at 440 and you would take 440, maybe you get some terms out of it, which is phenomenal. That can be helpful and convenient, right? So a lot of different things you can do by applying the pressure in the right way with an agent who can express it, communicate it, and just kind of maintain those relationships in the right way as well, right? Number 5, hire, I don't know why I'm saying it like that. Hire a highly responsive agent. You want a real estate agent who's going to pick up right away, talk with that other agent, get that information to you right away. The faster you guys move when somebody makes that decision to come in at a low price, that seller, right? You want to pounce on that. Okay, sounds good. Write it up, get it signed, send it over. All right. The longer you wait, the more they have to change their mind, or the more time they have for another buyer to come in with a stronger offer. Oh, by the way, if I've already got your offer on the table, I'm the listing agent. I've got your offer on the table and you're just dragging your feet. I'm going to let you drag your feet. Because as soon as I get, let's say your offer is 430, and I come back and I say, hey, we'll do 440, and you're dragging your feet, I'm not going to push you, because when I get another offer that comes in and they say, hey, we're at 435, I'm going to say, listen, if you can do 441, we got a deal. Yeah, that's great. Okay, sign here. Then I'm going to call your agent and I'm going to say, hey, sorry, we accepted another offer in the time it took you guys to think about it, right? So that happens. You don't want that to happen. So you want an agent who's going to move fast. If you've got someone who takes a day or two to get back to you, it's going to be rough come negotiation time. And the hotter the market is, the more true that will be. Guys, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, if you've got any questions, comments on anything I'm saying, absolutely feel free to put them in the comments and I'll answer them before the end of this video. Moving on to number 6, be prepared to sign quickly. So number 5 said, hey, you need an agent who moves quickly and communicates quickly. Number 6 is you need to move quickly, right? So when I send you a document, I say, hey, this is what it says. It says this and this and this. Do you agree to that? Yeah. Great. I'm going to send it to you for signatures. Sign it. The quicker you sign it and get it back to me, the quicker I get it over. That's when it's executed. That's when it's a deal that seller cannot back out of, right? You want to get it executed as quickly as possible so the seller no longer has an out. The longer you take, the more risk you take. Let's move on to number 7. Include all necessary documentation with the offer, okay? So what I mean by this is in the MLS, which realtors have access to, it's where all the homes are listed, right? There's a document tab up at the top. In there, you could have HOA addendum, you could have a seller's disclosure, you could have all kinds of disclosures, you could have a lead paint addendum, you could have all kinds of things. If you don't include those with the offer, what happens is that listing agent is going to say, hey, everything looks good, we like it, but we need these addenda signed. Get those signed, send it in, and then I'll get my sellers to sign. What does that mean? It means it's going to take you another half day, whatever it is for your agent to get that done, send it over. You sign it, send it back. That agent's not busy, so they send it. All that takes time. In that time, that listing agent is busting their hump trying to get as many other buyers, 2,000, 3,000 over your offer so they can get a happy seller, right? That's what that listing agent's doing. Do not allow that listing agent to have all that free time to do that. Get in there quick, get it, all the documents signed and everything, and get it in. Buy all documents. Here's another thing that'll slow you down. Not having a pre-approval letter, right? That's going to be a challenge. Some agents have a tough time working with non-local lenders, and I'm one of them. If you're working with some guy out of Tennessee, or I'm in Port St. Lucie, even in Jacksonville, and there's a problem, I know I can't drive to their office and knock on their door and say, what's going on with this deal? But if I've got someone in Port St. Lucie, number one, I know that person cares about their reputation more because they're local. They don't want to mess something up. So that means a Port St. Lucie deal is on the top of their list of priorities, right? Also, if I can't get them to pick up their phone, I can find their office. I will go knock on their door and I'll say, give me answers on this deal. I can't do that if you're in Jacksonville or Tennessee or wherever it is you are, right? So have a local lender, absolutely have your pre-approval letter, and have proof of funds. If you're putting down 5% and you've got 3.5% in closing costs, that's 8.5%. What's 8.5% of the total price? Whatever it is, say is 45 grand. I don't know, making up numbers. If it's $45,000, show them. You got 2 ways to do proof of funds, right? Either you can get a letter from the bank that says, hey, this guy's got the funds, or you can actually show them a bank statement, right? Those tend to work in 95% of situations, unless you've got a listing agent looking for something very particular. But 95% of the time, one of those 2 things will work. As long as it's got 4 things: your name as matches on the offer, the name of the financial institution, right? Wells Fargo, Citi, whatever it is, a date, a recent date. I always say within the last week or 2, right? And then number 4 is an amount of money that matches the amount you need or more. Okay. So if you need 45 grand, here's the thing. There's a little bit of thought process in here too. If I need 45 grand, do I show 45 grand? If I have 250, there's reasons to and reasons not to. If you're in a multiple offer situation and that's the most you're going to put down, whatever, but you want to show strength over other buyers, you can show, hey, I've got cash, right? You can even offer to cover short appraisals and everything. I mean, if you want to make your offer better, you can do a lot with that to show strength. Whereas if you're at 45 and you need 45, as a listing agent, as a seller, I'm thinking, holy smokes, I hope you make some good financial decisions over the next 30 to 60 days so we can get this sucker closed, right? So there's a reason to and a reason not to send certain numbers in. But again, that's a conversation you want to have with your agent, right? Number 8, keep quiet at the showing. Why do you want to keep quiet at the showing? And I'd even add keep quiet at the inspection, because a lot of people have cameras and listening devices throughout their homes. They even have it on the outside of their homes. Yes, they've got the Ring camera right outside the door, but a lot of people have it on the fronts and sides of their garage and house as well. So even when you're outside, in the driveway is where a lot of people like to talk. And if they got listening devices on the front of the garage, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage, right? If I, as a seller, know that you absolutely want the home and you say in the front driveway, man, I know they're asking $450, but we'd pay $480 for this. Can we try $450 first? I know already I can get $480 out of you, right? Because I've got it there. So that's a huge advantage for the seller. So make sure you get in your cars or on the phone outside of the property, whatever it is. Go down the street and talk. Go to a Starbucks, whatever it is, and have that conversation privately so you're not putting yourself at a disadvantage. I always tell people, listen, if we go into the home and you don't like the home, I don't care what you say. Say whatever you want, right? But if you love that home, do not give your poker face away. Don't show them you love the home. Don't say anything. Don't even ask questions. I'll ask questions after. The questions you ask can tell me as a seller or a listing agent what you're thinking and what your motivations are, what way you're leaning, how interested you are, how strong you're going to come with an offer, right? So don't do any of that, or absolutely it's going to impact you, right? Number 9, you don't risk anything by negotiating during the inspection, okay? So once you got your offer accepted, the seller's locked in and they have to sell it to you. In most cases, you could have other contingencies, but in most cases, that's what's going on. So during that, whatever it is, 5, 7, 10-day inspection period, you can negotiate for or during the inspection period, right? So if you've got 32 issues that come back and all 32 are minor things, and hey, I'm buying a house, every house is going to have issues. By the way, for those of you who haven't bought a lot of homes, 32 issues on an inspection report is not a lot. I love my home. I think it's beautiful. I think it's well taken care of. I bet you I'd have 25, 30 issues that come back on mine. There's all sorts of little things. New construction will have 8, 10, 12 items come back, right? So you're going to have some items come back. Even if you're okay moving forward, you might want to consider asking for some of those things to be repaired, replaced, a credit, whatever it is, because you risk nothing. If they say no to you, you can still move forward, just as if you would have before, right? But now you've got a shot at getting something back, something in pocket, a credit, a repair, replacement, whatever it is. You lose nothing, right? So absolutely put your best foot forward when it comes to that inspection period. Number 10, justify all reductions with data, not emotions. What do I mean by that? So whether it's in the initial offer or it's in the request for some sort of credit, repair, replacement during the inspection, don't just say, you know what, this home isn't as nice as homes down there, so I'm coming in 10 grand low. Instead, say, I've looked at homes in this market, and I can see that in this neighborhood within a half a mile, homes tend to sell for 3.3% less than all the other homes in the city. So looking at the comps, yes, I see you're where the comps are, but I have to take that 3.3% reduction into consideration, bringing me down $10,000. Now, if you can show somebody that, man, that's powerful. It's not you just saying, I want 10 grand off, right? A very emotional statement, which is usually going to result in an emotional reply from the seller. Now you've got some data and you're saying, I'd love to pay full market, but full market is 10 grand lower than what you're asking. And here's the data to support it. Is there something I'm missing? Show me. I want to make sure I'm giving you full market. Now you look like someone who genuinely wants to come strong, but I do think you're overpriced based on this data. What am I missing in the data? Okay. During inspection, instead of saying, hey, we got these 32 issues, so we're asking for a $5,000 credit. I hear it all the time. And I think this is not going to go well, right? And a lot of times I'll try to coach that at a buyer's agent and I'll say, hey, let's talk a little bit about the why. Where did you come up with 5 grand? And it's not because I'm trying to bust your hump here. It's because I know that any person, any human who just hears, I want 5 grand off, they're going to think you're taking advantage of them. even if you're not, even if you got 10 grand in issues and you're only asking for 5. But if we can justify it, if we can say, well, 29 of these 32 issues I'm going to overlook, but these 3 right here are concerning. One is a safety issue. The other 2 are high priced items that if you guys don't fix it, I'm going to have to in the next year or 2. And I don't want to, because I wouldn't have to on other homes that are priced this way. So the safety issue is $500. I got 2 quotes. That was the middle of the 2 quotes. And on the other 2 things, this one was $2,000 and this one was $2,500. I'm making up numbers here. So all of those combined, it came out to $5 grand. That's why we're asking for $5 grand. That is a great justification. That's a lot of data. It looks like you put effort into reaching out and getting estimates. You can tell me who the estimates are from. You're taking the average of the 2. You're not taking the high. Man, I feel good about everything you're saying right now. Now, when I, as a listing agent, present that to the seller, the odds of them being understanding of that go up. Is it a slam dunk? No, nothing is. But your odds of getting them to accept it emotionally go up dramatically. And now your net price is going to drop, right? Which is phenomenal. That's what everybody's looking for. So guys, there you go. You've got 10 great ways to keep that purchase price low and give you strategies both for you and your buyer's agent to help you through that entire process. If you guys have any questions, or if you'd like me to help you with your next purchase, reach out anytime. Guys, have a great Friday, and honestly, have a great